In our current media landscape, the lines often blur. We see fictional characters and real people merge in strange ways. Stories told on screens or in books can feel intensely real. These stories provide us with archetypes, with figures that seem to represent bigger ideas. Sometimes we take these fictional examples and use them to understand the complex lives of actual public figures. This process is not always straightforward. It can lead to simplified views of complicated individuals. It can also reveal something about what our society values, or perhaps what it fears and desires, often at the same time. The act of projecting fictional narratives onto real people is a common human tendency. We seek patterns. We look for familiar stories to make sense of the world. When a public figure's life seems to echo a character we know, we latch onto that connection. This can shape our expectations in profound ways. We might anticipate certain behaviors or outcomes based on the fictional script we have in our minds. This projection influences public opinion. It can build someone up or tear them down, sometimes before all the facts are even known. The power of a good story is immense, and it often overpowers the complexities of reality. Christian Grey is meticulously presented to readers as more than just a dominant billionaire. He is a man of immense wealth and almost absolute power in his world. He controls a vast business empire with sharp intellect. This control extends deeply into his personal life, particularly his romantic relationships. He has specific, rigid rules and desires. His background is hinted at as being dark and troubled. This past is used to explain, if not excuse, many of his more unsettling behaviors. The narrative carefully constructs him as an enigma, a puzzle to be solved, rather than simply a man with problematic tendencies. The key to Grey's allure for many is the framing of his controlling nature. It is not depicted as inherent malice. Instead, it is shown as a direct consequence of severe childhood trauma. This reframing is crucial. It shifts him from a potential predator to a wounded individual. This narrative choice invites sympathy and understanding from the reader and from the story's heroine, Anastasia Steele. His need for control is presented as a defense mechanism, a flawed way of coping with deep emotional scars. This makes him a misunderstood man, one whose harsh exterior hides a vulnerable core that needs healing. Sean Diddy Combs currently faces a maelstrom of legal challenges that are far from fictional. In September 2024, he was arrested and charged in federal court with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, and interstate transportation for prostitution. These are incredibly serious allegations. He has pleaded not guilty. This followed March 2024 federal raids on his homes. He was denied bail, with the court citing anger issues, substance abuse history, and potential risk to witnesses. Numerous civil lawsuits also paint a disturbing picture, with accusations of sexual assault and misconduct spanning decades. Combs and his legal team have consistently and vehemently denied all allegations, often calling them attempts at a financial shakedown. Should P. Diddy navigate this legal tempest and be acquitted of these grave charges, the misunderstood man narrative could potentially be invoked by his supporters and his own PR machinery. His undeniable business acumen and creative genius, which propelled him to global fame and fortune, might be heavily emphasized once more. The narrative could shift to portray him as a visionary who was unfairly targeted, or whose complex personality was simply too large, too unconventional for ordinary understanding. An acquittal could be framed not just as legal vindication, but as proof that he was a victim of a rush to judgment or a malicious campaign, making him appear as a survivor. Christian Grey's immense wealth is not just a backdrop it is an active tool that enables his pervasive control. His financial empire allows him to dictate terms not only in his business dealings, but also extensively within his personal relationships. He showers Anastasia Steele with lavish gifts, from cars to companies, effectively binding her to him through a complex web of obligation and luxury. This financial power creates a significant imbalance from the outset. His ability to shape her environment, influence her choices, and monitor her movements is directly tied to his vast resources. This raises questions about the nature of her agency within their dynamic. The ethical critique of the power imbalance is a prominent one. While the narrative frames their relationship as consensual, particularly their BDSM contract, critics point to the inherent disparity. Can true consent exist when one person holds such overwhelming financial and by extension societal power over the other? Grey's control is often subtle, masked by gestures of generosity or protection, but it remains a constant undercurrent. The story arguably presents a version of consent that is heavily skewed by this power dynamic, making it difficult to distinguish genuine agreement from acquiescence born of circumstance or even subtle coercion. Section 5. The Path to Redemption: Vulnerability as a Narrative Tool. In the fictional universe of Christian Grey's redemption arc is intrinsically linked to the gradual revelation of his traumatic childhood. As Anastasia learns about the abuse and neglect he suffered, his controlling behaviors and emotional unavailability are recontextualized. They are presented not as inherent character flaws, but as scars from his past. This reveal of vulnerability is designed to humanize him. It aims to evoke empathy from both Anastasia and the reader, paving the way for forgiveness and understanding. His pain becomes the key to unlocking a softer, more accessible version of himself, thus making his transformation believable within the story's logic. The mechanism for this transformation in the fiction is Anastasia Steele herself. Her unwavering love, her persistence in breaking through his defenses, and her acceptance of his 50 Shades are depicted as the healing balm for his wounded psyche. She represents the possibility of a different kind of relationship, one not based solely on control and dominance, but on mutual affection and eventual emotional intimacy. This romantic ideal where love conquers all, even deep-seated trauma, is a powerful and recurring theme in literature and film. It offers a hopeful, if perhaps simplistic, vision of how damaged individuals can find salvation through connection with another person. Section 6. Our Dangerous Desires: The Cultural Embrace of Troubled Men. There exists a persistent, almost primal societal fascination with a certain type of man. The one who is charming, highly capable, yet operates on the fringes of conventional morality. This figure, often charismatic and powerful, exudes an air of danger that many find paradoxically attractive. Think of the gangster-turned-mogul archetype, who achieves success through means that are not always savory, or the dom-turned-lover, whose intensity is part of his appeal. These characters tap into a cultural fetishization of men who seem to live by their own rules, who are untamed and perhaps untamable, offering a thrill that safer, more conventional figures do not. Christian Grey is a textbook example of this phenomenon in fiction. His wealth, good looks, and sophisticated veneer are combined with a dark, controlling side. This very combination is what draws millions of readers. His problematic traits, his possessiveness, his need for absolute control, his BDSM lifestyle presented through a mainstream lens, are not necessarily seen as deal-breakers by his legion of fans. Instead, they are often interpreted as part of his complex allure, elements that make him exciting and different. The fantasy lies in the idea of being the one to understand, to tame, or to be chosen by such an intense and commanding individual. Section 7. Manufacturing Myth: The Art and Industry of Image Control. The narrative surrounding Christian Grey is anything but accidental. It is a product of careful and deliberate curation. The author, E.L. James, crafts his story in such a way as to make his problematic behaviors palatable, even attractive, to a wide audience. This is achieved by consistently emphasizing his tragic backstory, his underlying vulnerability, and the transformative power of Anastasia's love. The focus is steered towards the romance and the eventual healing of Grey, rather than lingering too long on the more disturbing aspects of his control or the ethical ambiguities of their relationship dynamics from an objective standpoint. This crafting of Grey's image involves specific narrative choices that guide the reader's perception. For instance, moments of extreme control are often followed by displays of affection, lavish gifts, or revelations of his past pain, which serve to soften their impact. The story is told primarily from Anastasia's perspective, allowing readers to experience Grey through her often romanticized and forgiving gaze. This subjectivity is key to making him a sympathetic anti-hero rather than an outright villain. The entire franchise relies on this skilled manipulation of narrative to maintain its central fantasy, ensuring the character remains an object of desire despite his flaws. Section 8. Acquittals Aftermath: Diddy's Potential Rebirth from the Ashes. The current reality for Sean Diddy Combs is undeniably grim. a stark contrast to his decades of glittering success. As of May 2025, he is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, having been denied bail following his September 2024 arrest on federal charges, including racketeering and sex trafficking. His estimated net worth has reportedly plummeted to around $400 million, a significant drop as business deals have been terminated. His lucrative partnership with Diageo for Skyrocket vodka ended. Macy's phased out his Sean John clothing line, and he stepped down as chairman of Revolt TV. His empire, once a towering symbol of entertainment and entrepreneurial prowess, is described as crumbling under the weight of these accusations and legal battles. However, this essay explores a hypothetical scenario. What if P. Diddy is acquitted of all these serious charges? In such an event, the narrative could dramatically shift. An acquittal would be a monumental legal victory, and it could set the stage not just for a recovery of his previous standing, but potentially for an ascent to a new, perhaps even more complex level of cultural influence. The public is often captivated by stories of individuals who face overwhelming odds, stare into the abyss of public condemnation and legal jeopardy, and somehow emerge. Such a victory could be framed as the ultimate comeback story, a testament to his fighting spirit. Section 9. Narrative, Supremacy, Image, Morality, and the Modern Public Figure. The immense power of narrative in shaping public perception cannot be overstated in our hyper-mediated age. The stories we are told and the way they are framed often hold more sway than a dispassionate examination of facts or deeply considered moral arguments. A compelling narrative can create heroes out of flawed individuals and villains out of the misunderstood. It can sway public opinion, build empires, and destroy reputations with astonishing speed. This is particularly true in the realm of celebrity and public life, where image is not just an accessory but a fundamental component of power and influence, carefully constructed and fiercely protected. For public figures, especially those who court controversy or operate in high-stakes environments, the ability to control their own story becomes paramount. It is a constant battle for narrative supremacy. The version of events that takes hold in the public consciousness can ultimately define their legacy, sometimes more so than their actual deeds or misdeeds. Skillful image management, crisis communication, and the strategic deployment of personal history can all be used to shape this perception. In this context, truth can become a malleable concept, secondary to the coherence and emotional impact of the prevailing story that is being sold to the audience. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like content like this.